These are top 5 Warzone meta loadouts. These are all really easy to use and basically have zero recoil, so anybody can honestly use them and have a great time. So the first thing I want to show you guys is the Holger 26 because this is the best long range weapon. You can't find anything better than this, and the secondary is going to be the Superior 46 with the ultimate movement and the lowest amount of recoil. So first, like I said, Holger 26. Start out with the Zemin 35 compensated flash hider. This shortens the radar pings, increases the vertical recoil control along with horizontal recoil control, and increases firing aim stability. You lose some bullet velocity and aim down sight speed, but it's really not that noticeable. The increase of 5 and 15% for the recoil control is so helpful, and I don't think that there's honestly a better flash hider. Like, there's really not. I went through every single thing. I went through the silencers. I even used the Casus brake. And out of everything, the Zemin 35 is the best for this weapon. Next is the Holger Factory Barrel. Now, this thing helps so much with the bullet velocity and range, recoil control, and gun kick control. Now, it doesn't help a ton with the recoil control, but there are other things that will actually compensate, such as the Zemin. Look how much this helps with the range. 20% times 2, and then a 10% increase of bullet velocity. There's nothing else that matches this. The only thing that helps, in my opinion, differently would be the HGL 92 for more recoil control, but since we have recoil control on point, the Holger Factory Barrel is perfect. You guys see, this also helps with the recoil control, but it doesn't help nearly as much as the HGL. I think this is the best choice overall. Put on the Brune Heavy Support Grip. I went through every single one of these once again, and this is the best one for the recoil pattern. This helps with gun kick control, aiming out of the way, horizontal recoil, and firing aim stability at the cost of aim down sight speed and vertical recoil. The vertical recoil is already taken care of, so losing 4% of it is honestly not a big deal because you also get a recoil gun kick control increase by 11%. I also put on the Ascent Lord stock for aiming out of sway, recoil control, gun kick control, and firing aim stability at the cost of sprint to fire speed, sprint speed, crouch movement speed, and aim walking speed. This gives this an additional 18% recoil gun kick control increase, and then 7% decreases of horizontal and vertical recoil control. Out of every gun I've ever used in Warzone, this is honestly one of the easiest. I would go as far as to say this is even better than the DG58 LSW. This thing is just super easy to use. Honestly, one of the most meta weapons I've ever used in the game, and I can't wait to show you guys the class setup. So here's the entire class setup right here for the Holger 26. You guys are going to absolutely love using this weapon. It's way too easy to use, so if you're not using it, you're going to lose to it. Next is the Superior 46. This is the best SMG in the game right now, and it's honestly super easy. The first thing I threw on was a Zemin 35 compensated flash hider for the shorter radar pings, vertical recoil, horizontal recoil, and firing aim stability at the cost of aim down sight speed and bullet velocity. As you guys see, the effective damage range and minimum damage range are 16.1 meters and 39.4 meters, which is absolutely substantial, and it's all thanks to the setup that I have in this video. Now, the horizontal and vertical recoil are increased by 5%, 15% for more recoil control, and this is the best choice. Now, the alternative would be the Lockshot KT85, but even though it helps a ton in regards to recoil control, I think it just bounces a little too much. I think the Zemin 35 is the best choice overall, but if you don't want that bullet velocity reduction, then you can put on the Lockshot KT85. Next, put on the XRK Edge BW for hand stop for aim walking speed, movement speed, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed at the cost of aim walking steadiness and hip fire attack stand spread. This helps so much. I've seen people try to use the DR6 hand stop. If you want to use it, completely up to you. I weighed the pros and cons, and this is so much more beneficial than anything else. I put on the high grain rounds just for more bullet velocity and damage range. You guys see that it does affect the recoil control, but with everything else that we have on there, I think that the recoil control is absolutely on point and can take those little bits of hits for those 15% increases of range across the board. 40 round mag is just the best choice overall. I can't think of a better choice. You don't want 20, that's just too little bullets, and it's really not multiplayer. I mean, this is Warzone. If you're playing multiplayer, maybe you'd be fine to use 20, but with the Warzone, I definitely recommend using 40. And finally, I put on the Jack Cutthroat for the aim walking speed, aim walking steadiness, and movement speed. Now, this was my personal preference. Some people like using the Rescue 9 stock. It's not what I like to use. I like to use a Jack Cutthroat. This helps with the ADS movement speed like crazy, so you're basically flying around the map, and people have a really hard time hitting you. If you want to use the Rescue 9, be my guest. Your movement speed will be a little bit higher, but your ADS movement speed will not be anywhere near as high. And I'll show you guys right now. So check this out. See how you're basically like flying around? Like, people are going to have a really hard time hitting you when you're moving around like this. It's just going to be really difficult. In my opinion, this is just the best choice overall. Like, look how fast you move. How is someone going to be able to hit you when you're moving this fast? It's absolutely ridiculous. So here's the entire class setup right here. If you guys want to copy it down, take a picture, screenshot, whatever you guys want to do. Also, if you made it this far in the video, I want you guys to comment SMG. I would greatly appreciate that. Number 3, this is the strongest hitting SMG. It's the WSP9. Now, per bullet, this hits the absolute hardest. So I had to give you guys the best class, and I also made it look really nice, but that's besides the point. So put on the Zenman 35 compensated flash hider for the shorter radar pings, vertical recoil, horizontal recoil, and firing aim stability at the cost of aim down sight speed and bullet velocity. As you guys see, per bullet, it's just absolutely devastating. And even though we do get the bullet velocity decreased a little bit, I don't think that's the big of a deal. Put on the Brune Heavy support grip for gun kick control, aiming out sway, horizontal recoil, and firing aim stability at the cost of aim down sight speed and vertical recoil. Now this one may be a little bit confusing, but just trust me, this class setup is going to be very much useful. It's probably going to be the best SMG setup for the WSP9 that you guys have ever had. So just like I said, bear with me and you guys will see the whole class setup is going to be insane. Make sure you guys put on the 40 round mag. I don't think that the 50 is worth it. I think it just has too many cons in my opinion. Like it just basically doubles 40 for 10 more bullets that I don't think that you really need. I think you'll be able to reload at a safe time and honestly most likely be able to take out the majority of the team with 40 versus 50. I put on the Marauder grip for gun kick control, firing aim stability, and recoil control at the cost of aiming out of sway. And I mean, I just think it's worth it in my opinion. If you don't think it's worth it, try something else. But I love how this works. And finally, I put on the no stock for sprint to fire speed, movement speed, aim walking speed, and aim down sight speed. You guys see the cons. I know you guys do, but just trust me on this. This is absolutely deadly. I was actually surprised at first because when I first tried this gun, it didn't seem like the ideal gun. I picked it up off the ground and I absolutely shredded it. So I'm going to show you guys right now. Check this out. Look how devastating this is. This takes literally no effort to use at all. Very little recoil. Even if you didn't have this variant, it's still going to absolutely take off. So please give this class setup a try. You're going to realize just how powerful this thing is. It's one of the strongest, well, actually is the strongest SMG in the game per bullet. So this is something I highly recommend trying out. You guys know that Warzone is full of the Kar 98K right now. So here is the best class setup for the Kar 98K. Throw on the Sonic Suppressor L for being undetectable by the radar, bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of sprint to fire speed, recoil control, and aim walking steadiness. This helps with the effective and minimum damage range by 5%, and the bullet velocity goes up by 13%, which is absolutely ideal. The recoil goes up a little bit, but it's not something you're going to notice. Put on the 7.62 Longbow for bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of sprint to fire speed, hip fire attack stand spread, and aim down sight speed. So the effective and minimum damage range go up by 12%, and the bullet velocity goes up by 15%, which is absolutely amazing. The only downsides are the hip fire and the ADS sprint to fire speed, which do not matter, and you guys will see why very shortly. You put on the 7.92 high grain rounds for bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of recoil control, 15% across the board with a slight reduction of recoil control, which does not matter for a sniper. For this setup, I put on the Range Caller V3.4 optic, but I typically use the SPX 86.6 times. This is my preference, but I think a lot of people like using the range. So if you guys want to use this and have the more car feel, then this is the one for you. And then finally, I put on the no stock for aim, walking speed, sprint to fire speed, movement speed, and aim down sight speed, which helps a ton. Absolute ton. Like basically fixes all the problems this class setup had. And the recoil goes down even more, but you guys will not notice, and I'm going to show you guys right now. So as you guys see, this thing just looks absolutely beautiful and has the OG car feel. I mean, if you are not trying this out, I don't know what to tell you. It's just honestly the best weapon in the game right now. Everyone's using it. You can snipe people from basically, I think, 80 meters. It's either 70, 80 meters. One-shot headshot. It's ridiculous. So if you're not trying this class setup out, you're definitely missing out. Finally, if you're a more AR guy, then the Holger 5.56 is the one for you. It's an alternative to the Holger 26, and it's absolutely deadly. Put on the Cassis brake for the horizontal recoil and firing aim stability at the cost of aim down sight speed. It goes up by 18% recoil control. Absolutely devastating with a slight decrease of ADS speed, which is not a big deal. Put on the Cheerios 6 match for the bullet velocity and range, recoil control, and gun kick control at the cost of aim down sight speed, aiming out swing, and sprint to fire speed. This helps a ton. Look at the range increase, 20% by effective and minimum damage range, and bullet velocity goes up by 11%. And the recoil control, it just helps a little bit, which I think is pretty nice. The handling goes down a little bit, but I don't think that really matters that much. The Brune Pivot vertical grip is the best underbarrel for recoil control. It helps with gun kick control, vertical recoil, aiming out sway, and firing aim stability at the cost of horizontal recoil, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed. If you guys remember, the horizontal recoil is already taken care of with one attachment, and this just basically maxes it out. 40 round mag because you can't go any higher. And finally, we put on the Jack Glasses optic. This is just my preference. If you want to use something else, be my guest. And just look how deadly this thing is. You don't really have to try that much to actually use this weapon. It's pretty easy in my opinion. There's so many like weapons that you can actually use, but these are obviously just the best ones that you can actually like optimally use and most likely win the gunfights versus any other weapons. So this is the best class setup right here. I think that this hits actually pretty high regarding like ARs. This has a high bullet like damage per bullet at 38 for upper torso, lower torso, upper leg, and then the headshot damage is 49. It's actually crazy to me the WSB9 hits harder than a lot of weapons, but this is the 5th weapon. Let me know which weapon you guys enjoyed the most in the comment section down below.